In case you think you've accidentally clicked on a video from last week featuring last week's news, no! So last week, the Democratic politician that ICE agents violently detained over nothing and falsely accused of assault was California Senator Alex Padilla. This week, the Democratic politician that ICE agents violently detained over nothing and falsely accused of assault was New York City Comptroller and mayoral candidate Brad Lander. We can only guess which Democratic politician they'll do it to next week. But a pattern is certainly beginning to emerge here, folks, especially when you factor in the previous incidents where New Jersey politicians were detained while trying to visit an ICE detention facility, and a county judge in Wisconsin was arrested for helping an undocumented immigrant evade ICE agents waiting for him outside of her courtroom by simply letting him exit through a different door.
And this is becoming a thing. There was another politician who was just like, hey, let me in. And they're like, no. And he just went, all right. And you gotta come a little more prepared than that now. You already know that's going to happen. You have to anticipate that you're probably going to get detained at the very least, and you should show up knowing that this is going to happen and probably fight a little bit harder.
Put your body on the line. Like, I'm sorry, you were elected to...
Yeah. Now, this latest incident might be the most alarming one yet, though, because Trump is clearly at war with big American cities. He said this. These are his words. Cities like LA, Chicago, and New York. And there's a half-decent chance Brad Lander might be the next mayor of New York. Due to the number of candidates and new ranked choice voting system, it's kind of anyone's ballgame at this point. But at a time when Trump is attacking the sovereignty of cities like New York and has Eric Adams, boo, installed as his current puppet mayor, a lot of New Yorkers want someone who will actually stand up for them, and Brad Lander has just demonstrated a willingness to do that. His detainment by masked federal goons occurred while he was part of a group that has been escorting undocumented New Yorkers to their immigration court appearances to basically provide strength in numbers to potentially deter ICE agents from snatching them up. It's a clever idea. But it turns out ICE agents are willing to brutalize anyone that stands between them and their prey, even if they're a major elected official in the biggest city in the United States. Here's local outlet The City with what went down.
Federal agents detained New York City Comptroller Brad Lander inside a Lower Manhattan immigration court building Tuesday morning as he attempted to escort a man from his court appearance there. Lander, who is also running for mayor in next week's Democratic primary, was held inside the building for over 4 hours before he was eventually released without charges after an intervention by Governor Kathy Hochul. I know I will get due process and that my rights will be protected, Lander said to a throng of supporters who gathered spontaneously in Foley Square that evening after his release. But Edgardo will sleep in an ICE detention facility, God knows where, tonight. He has been stripped of his due process rights in a country that is supposed to be founded on equal justice under law, Lander continued, naming the immigrant detained by federal agents at the same time the comptroller was taken into custody. And again, this is a case where this is an immigrant who is literally doing everything exactly how the immigration process would like him to. He's showing up for his appointments. Even calling them undocumented is inaccurate because they're very documented.
They're doing the documents.
They're very documented. They're going out of their way to be documented.
And it's further proof that these ICE agents aren't going after the people that the Trump administration had been portraying them
criminals
for months, if not years now. And they're going for these, not even just the softest targets like a Home Depot or a restaurant anymore. They're just showing up where they know that these people are legally obliged to be.
Yeah, in a process that already exists, that works, they have decided that the immigration court system doesn't matter, and we're just going to use it as a trap.
It's infuriating. It continues. Lander had been inside 26 Federal Plaza to observe hearings and accompany immigrants leaving routine court appearances. It was his third time observing federal immigration hearings since masked federal agents began staking out immigration courtrooms last month, targeting immigrants for arrest. At around noon, Lander had linked arms with Edgardo, leaving an immigration courtroom on the 12th floor, refusing to let go as agents pushed into the crowd attempting to pull him away. In the chaotic scene, Lander asked the agents repeatedly to show a judicial warrant. "You do not have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens," Lander repeated, as the officers tightened handcuffs to his wrists. The federal agents escorted him into an elevator, with one member of his NYPD security detail alongside him. A reporter from The City had overheard one agent say to another minutes before Lander's arrest, "Do you want to arrest the comptroller?"
Are you bad enough, dude?
Yeah.
I like
and not even bad in the 80 cents, just an actually bad person.
And are you a terrible enough person? And it sounds like they also detained like literal NYPD.
So that's
interesting. I wonder how the NYPD feels about that, because they're going to have to pick sides pretty fucking soon. I have a feeling I know which side they'll pick, but it is interesting to note that how ICE views even local law enforcement.
Scratching their chin saying, maybe all cops are bastards. I wish I could be down in the subway playing Candy Crush.
I miss the Candy Crush, man. They're making me do work out here. It's summertime. They're making me put on all this riot gear. And I have allergies, and I'm shooting off all this tear gas. It's making me sniffle.
And if you're in LA, you go, well, 5 o'clock, toot, toot, and then steamroll over a bunch of protesters.
Time to let the aggression out. So yeah, this whole thing was understandably pretty outrageous. And it did a great job of unifying the city's residents and politicians at a time when, due to the upcoming election, things weren't so unified. Several of Brad Lander's opponents in the race quickly arrived on the scene to publicly support Lander and call for his release, in a show of unity with one notable exception.
5 fellow mayoral candidates came here within 90 minutes of you being arrested. They came out, they smoked, called out for your release. What does that say about the tenor of the mayor's race, that here we are, voting has already begun, we're a week from the election, and people are racing down to your defense?
Was one of them Andrew Cuomo?
It's not. I wasn't going to say that.
Imagine that.
I guess Andrew Cuomo was busy that day.
Yeah, he was busy speeding through school zones, as was reported by his license plate numbers.
Ton of fucking tickets.
In like 3 months, he got multiple tickets speeding through school zones.
Yeah, well, he had a lot of women to ogle on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Like, awooga, awooga. Hey, is your grandma in a nursing home? Maybe we should kill her.
Yeah, it was the same school zone. He kept repeatedly driving back to go, woohoo!
What? I'm Italian.
Yeah,
I can do that. Anyway, Kathy Hochul, the person who replaced Andrew Cuomo as governor of New York when he resigned in disgrace just 4 years ago, not only intervened to get Lander released from custody, she also did not mince words about the situation.
That's how you know she's serious. She did a swear.
Do you want to know what I really think? Please. It's bullshit. How dare they take an elected official who's been going down there for weeks to escort people who are afraid to walk into a courthouse in the United States of America, because despite them having legal status and following the rules and making their appointments, that they don't know what's going to happen to them. So Brad Lander has stepped up to be a guiding help for them. And this is what happens to him? What the hell is happening to this country? I just left Little Haiti. People are being traumatized. Small businesses, people walking down the street. When I was there in August, the streets were mobbed. People were walking down the sidewalks. There were vendors everywhere. The traffic was crowded. Today, there was silence. People are living in fear. One woman just told me the ICE agents are going in and out of buildings there. They came here with legal status. Temporary protective status was legal. Tens of thousands of people came here with legal status, and it's literally ripped away from them overnight. So, I know Brad Lander will be okay. He'll have attorneys, a lot of people paying attention, but what about all the people who don't have that high-profile position? And I'll say this. I told President Trump, I will work with you to better the state of New York and the city of New York. I'll work with you when our interests can be aligned, hopefully many times. But when you challenge the values and our rights and the people of our state, I'm going to have to fight and stand up. That day has arrived.
Yeah.
Not bad.
No.
But
it really is separating the politicians who are willing to show up and do the work and at least put their necks on the line. It's very obvious when certain politicians and certain sports teams do not.
Yeah. Dodgers, I mean,
come on.
Kike Hernandez is like the one
Yeah.
at this point who said anything, and it's really frustrating.
It
but
is.
yeah, damn, all right, Kathy Hochul. But, meanwhile, here's the Department of Homeland Security's official version of events. New York City Comptroller Brad Lander was arrested for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. Our heroic ICE law enforcement officers face a 413% increase in assaults against them. It is wrong that politicians seeking higher office undermine law enforcement safety to get a viral moment. No one is above the law, and if you lay a hand on a law enforcement officer, you will face consequences.
Who was that law enforcement officer? Please tell everyone who the officer is that they assaulted.
Yeah, what's
their name? What's their badge number?
Not really a uniform he's wearing. Can't really tell what agency they're from. If it even is a he, I can't tell. It's like a full mask on.
Yeah, maybe a badge number would help, and yeah, that would be something. Okay, yeah, so this is a fun statement because it describes what Brad Lander did as assault on an officer, which it very clearly was not. So when they say in the next sentence that there's been a 413% increase in assaults against ICE agents, you are left to assume that this statistic is total bullshit if that's how they're defining assault. We said it recently when there was another stat that came out about this, but I'm sure that they're using verbal assault under the blanket of assault. Like, hey, stop doing that. Everybody, look, there's an iPhone. Can I get your name and birth date so we can tell people to find you? And that's like, oh, they're assaulting ICE officers by asking information about either us or the person we're detaining.
Yeah, I mean, conservatives, they love to take like the most like Tumblr core version of reality and make a joke out of it. But they're the ones here out in real life acting like violence is happening to them.
Yeah.
Words are violence.
And they
is
buckle
violence.
under the like slightest pressure. It is like the protests were like a couple people would show up last week during the No Kings thing. And
that
be
was
like,
very violent of them to show up.
Fuck you. And then like immediately people would argue with them and they'd go, oh, and they'd leave and scurry back to their fucking holes.
It's violence against their feelings.
Anyways, you could extrapolate those stats further because even when ICE isn't involved, what's considered assault on any law enforcement officer is usually laughable.
Yeah. Next time you hear about someone assaulting an officer or resisting arrest, like
anytime they're detaining someone, they're like screaming that you're resisting, no matter what.
Yeah, which is like a very natural, like like involuntary reaction to being grabbed.
If you tense up while they're arresting you, which is of course a natural response from your body, that is assault. And it's also assault if you go limp. So I don't know. No one's going to win.
There's a Goldilocks zone in there somewhere.
Yeah, you have to like work with the police officer. You kind of have to like, but not too much or you'll get them horny and then that's also assault.
You got to do a bit of a tango.
Yeah. Now, if a cop is touching you, technically you're touching a cop and that's assault. So the DHS statement also accuses Brad Lander of trying to create a viral moment, which even if that were true, who cares? He put his body on the line for his values. Good for him. But the ones who made this a viral moment were the ICE agents who decided to arrest an elected official. It wouldn't have gone viral. Yeah. It wouldn't have gone anywhere if they were just like, I understand you're doing your job. And what I'm doing is actually cruel and inhumane.
Yeah, it's like the Karens who get like mad about being filmed. And it's like, well, just stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And no one's it's not gonna go viral.
For someone who
shut the fuck up.
For someone who claims to love and represent the rule of law, you sure don't like it when it's used against you. Anyway, by me filming in a public place.
Yeah. So while Andrew Cuomo did eventually, to his credit, call out this bullshit for what it is, current New York City Mayor Eric Adams, play the music, New York. Eric Adams, who would be on trial for blatant corruption right now, if not for Trump shutting down the case, he used the incident as an opportunity to rewrite history and paint himself as actually the real hero.
Did anyone check that detainee's backpack for maybe some drugs or drug paraphernalia?
Just a common-looking backpack, but inside, what do we find?
Exactly.
Like $10,000 worth of cocaine in this child's backpack.
You never know.
Here's AM New York. During a June 18th interview on the Reset talk show, Adams declined to join other Democrats in bashing ICE's actions against Lander and immigrants, instead seeking to rebuff criticisms that he has mostly stood silent during a dramatic escalation in Trump's mass deportation effort. Adams told the host, J.R. Gittins, he does not need to be arrested to show he is standing up for immigrants because, in his view, he was already hit with federal charges for doing exactly that.
My God. They were corruption charges.
No, I think you'll find that actually Eric Adams was charged for loving immigrants too much.
Turkish immigrants.
Well, some of them were Turkish. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
You know,
I had to go there and see in person.
New York is the Istanbul of America. It's
And by the way,
Mexico City of
beautiful
America.
airport. Beautiful.
It's the Kuala Lumpur of America. It's the Vatican City of America. It is
a city so beautiful, you will go 15 hours out of your way just to spend 2 hours inside of it.
And you never know what's going to happen. Maybe someone's starting a new business. Maybe 9/11 is happening. And
You never
people
know.
are falling out of the Twin Towers. You never know, and that's what makes New York beautiful. And I hate rats, and I'm going to kill each and every one of them.
Well, it does continue.
If people are saying, Eric, go get arrested like Brad Lander to show your outrage, I was arrested when I stood up and fought for migrants and asylum seekers, Adams said, repeating his unfounded claim that federal prosecutors went after him for publicly criticizing former President Biden's immigration policies.
Several mayoral candidates came to Lander's defense on Tuesday by releasing forceful statements framing his arrest as part of an authoritarian abuse of power, but Adams instead appeared to place the blame on the comptroller. I think it was more politics instead of protecting people, he said Tuesday. It's unfortunate that he took that action, because that is not the role of an elected official, what he did today. Adams maintained that he believes he was prosecuted in the first place because he was critical of the Biden administration's handling of the migrant crisis between 2022 and 2024. That's why they came at me in the first place, Adams said on the Reset talk show. I know what it is to be arrested for standing up and fighting on behalf of migrant asylum seekers. Trust me, every time I look at the $3 million legal fee that I have, I know what it is to get arrested by federal authorities because you're fighting to say it's wrong what you were doing to migrants and asylum seekers. So they're just joining the club. They're late to the dance. I was already dancing.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the fact that Andrew Cuomo has even a shot at this election does again demonstrate that Americans have no memory whatsoever, and COVID-19 made that even worse.
Yeah,
and we're just like the shit he did happened 4 years ago, and everyone's completely forgotten. They're like, hey, maybe.
Hey, whoa! Andrew Cuomo, where do I know that name? He must be a good guy.
But like, Eric Adams is doing that now with like an even shorter time span, and who knows? It might actually it could work. People are like, yeah. Eric Adams was arrested for loving immigrants too much, for standing up for immigrants.
And he solved the rat problem. Famously, New York is free of all rats.
I mean, I will say that's like the one thing he's had a lot of, I mean, obviously, eradicating rats is like something humanity has been trying to do for centuries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd say what he has done has been pretty successful, and by which I mean he's done just the most basic fucking no-brainer shit about rats that every other city in the world has been doing for a very long time.
Elliot, you forgot he invented the trash can. You see that? Trash goes in the bin.
Which, like, I've talked to New Yorkers, and it sounds like the vast majority of trash in New York is still just going on the sidewalk.
They have very short memories. The Andrew Cuomo thing, putting trash on the street. It's like, look, we've been doing things the wrong way for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're not going to stop now. That's what makes New York, New York.
Well, they have a different sense of time there. They have what's called the New York Minute.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
whoa!
It's hard to remember things from the past because you're always moving. I'm walking. You're moving forward all the time. And you can't.
No time to stop and think.
No. So, wow, yeah, Eric Adams, what a fucking piece of shit. Hopefully, whoever New York City picks as its next mayor doesn't also totally suck.
It's up to you.
But moving on now, from one horrifying incident in our current hell world to another even more horrifying incident. So in our previous episode this week, we covered the highs and lows of this past weekend. The high point, of course, being the millions who peacefully took to the streets to protest Trump, while Trump himself had the lamest birthday party ever. And the low point being the assassination of a prominent Minnesota Democrat and her husband, and the attempted assassination of another prominent Minnesota Democrat and his wife. Political assassinations are thankfully not something that happens here very often. So when it does, it's quite alarming. And under normal circumstances, you would expect that regardless of politics, the president of the United States would at least have the decency to pick up the phone and make some quick calls to offer his support and condolences. But these are not normal circumstances, and this isn't a normal president. So, yeah. Here's Rolling Stone.
This week, after a spree shooter killed former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman, her husband, and severely injured State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, President Donald Trump hasn't bothered to pick up the phone to speak with Minnesota's head of state. Shortly after 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, Rolling Stone asked Governor Tim Walz's office if he had received a call from Trump yet. A spokesperson for the Democratic governor replied, "We haven't heard from him," adding that former President Joe Biden called yesterday midday, shortly after all the news broke. Asked if Trump had ever called Walz, who took office in 2019, in previous moments of crisis or emergency to speak cordially or professionally, the governor's spokesperson said flatly, yes. On Monday, Walz told reporters that he had yet to hear from President Trump in the aftermath of Saturday's murders, which resulted in a statewide 2-day manhunt before the suspect, 56-year-old Vance Bolter, was apprehended. By Tuesday morning, it appeared the president was not just committed to giving Walz the silent treatment, but to openly spurning the governor, who ran against him and J.D. Vance as the vice presidential candidate on the 2024 Democratic ticket.
Speaking to reporters Tuesday on Air Force One, Trump stated that he had no interest in calling the former vice presidential candidate. "I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling," Trump said. "The guy doesn't have a clue. He's a mess. So, I could be nice and call him, but why waste time?" This wasn't a one-off moment of being loose-lipped with reporters. A source with direct knowledge of the matter says that Trump has been relentlessly trash-talking the Minnesota governor behind the scenes since the horrific news broke. He's not letting up, the source said. When Trump asserted to reporters on the presidential plane that he had no interest in speaking to Walz, he justified himself by claiming that the governor had appointed this guy to a position, seeming to suggest that Walz himself may bear some responsibility for the tragedy. Bolter, who allegedly had a hit list of over 45 local and state lawmakers, including Walz, previously served as a political appointee on the Minnesota governor's Workforce Development Board. The appointment did not originally take place under Walz, but under his predecessor, former governor Mark Dayton, also a Democrat. Walz renewed Bolter's term in the low-profile political position in 2019.
This was like a bipartisan coalition of people that were just working for things in Minnesota. It was...
So clearly, this Vance Bolter, he's a socialist, far-left liberal.
Just the basic human decency to, even if it wasn't to Tim Walz, to like any of the other representatives from the state who were on the fucking hit list, and just be like, hey, this is bad. We don't put up with this in our country.
Yeah, it's
political violence is not
normal.
acceptable.
It's alarming.
Yeah, and like, why would I call? Big waste of time. Like, is just so heartless and disturbing that I would be shocked if I haven't been ground down to just emotional deadness with this guy.
Yeah, it's so everything's so fucking beyond the pale.
But yeah, a guy who is a big fan of Trump, a huge fan of Trump, just murdered 2 people, attempted to murder 2 more, and had a long list of other Democrats he intended to murder, including Tim Walz himself. And Trump's only response is to publicly and privately talk shit on a political opponent. It's not surprising at this point, but it's still yet another example of just how disgustingly self-centered and morally bankrupt this guy is. But yeah, this wasn't the only tragedy to occur on No Kings Day. But before we get to all the confusion over what went down in Salt Lake City,
my God,
it's awkward time to awkwardly jam a sponsor break into the middle of our episode, because there really isn't a single moment in today's show where it wouldn't be jarring and weird.
Sorry.
We don't make the news. We just report on it. And we will never apologize for reporting the news. You get the story by now. So here we go. It's time to let you know this episode is sponsored by Shopify. When we started the show, it seemed like we had to figure out pretty much everything on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, graphics, editing, the countless audio issues. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list just keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into big money with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/newsday. Newsday. Go to shopify.com/Newsday. Shopify.com/Newsday. Cha-ching!
This episode is also sponsored by Huel, a product that both of us rely on for sustenance during our long days down in the news mines. No time to cook? No problem. Our friends at Huel have you covered. That is Huel spelled Huel. And their Black Edition Ready to Drink is a complete meal in a bottle with 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar. You feel full, focused, and ready for your day. No prep, no cleanup, just grab and go. Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 15% off at Huel.com when you use our code TechNewsDay15. Summer doesn't slow down, and neither should your nutrition. Huel Black Edition Ready to Drink is a complete meal that's ready when you are. Toss it in your bag, hit the road, and fuel up without missing a beat. It's a perfectly balanced meal that saves you time.
Designed by experts to provide all the nutrients your body needs from a meal, Huel takes the guesswork and time out of healthy eating. No prep, no cooking. They taste so good. Huel shakes actually taste like a milkshake, and they come in delicious chocolate or vanilla. Bonus is they're low in sugar. Lastly, Huel is incredibly affordable. With high-protein meals less than $5, it's a budget-friendly option that I'm genuinely excited about. My personal favorite is, of course, that Black Edition Ready to Drink because it's got a whopping 35 grams of protein, plus 27 vitamins and minerals, all in one handy bottle. Start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% off using our exclusive code TechNewsDay15 at Huel.com. That is 15% off for new customers using our exclusive code TechNewsDay15 at Huel.com. Please see our description for the terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled.
Okay, with that out of the way, it is time to talk about the other No Kings Day tragedy from this past Saturday. Now, during the protests in Salt Lake City, an attendee was killed by gunfire. And what actually went down turns out to have been a lot less clear-cut than it initially seemed. And really reaffirms our belief that a heavily armed society is a society where a lot of innocent people get accidentally killed by the good guys with guns, who assume other good guys with guns are actually bad guys with guns. Now, with any mass gathering of people on the left side of the political spectrum, there's always a very justified fear that some right-wing nutjob is going to see it as an opportunity for political violence. And that fear was definitely elevated on Saturday with that news coming out of Minnesota. So when gunfire broke out at the Salt Lake City No Kings rally, resulting in the death of an attendee, the initial version of events was pretty much exactly what everyone feared. And that's how it was initially reported. Now, turns out, though, it is way more complicated than that. So here's some of the clearest reporting on it so far from Marissa Cabas at The Handbasket.
Here's what we can say for sure. Approximately 10,000 people gathered in downtown Salt Lake City on Saturday for the No Kings protest and march organized by the Utah chapter of the 50-51 movement. Among the attendees was Arturo Gamboa, 24, a local man openly carrying a rifle, which is legal in Utah. An armed safety volunteer in a bright yellow vest spotted Gamboa, perceived a threat, and fired his weapon in his direction. He struck Gamboa and, in the process, struck and killed protester Arthur Folasa Alu, 39. Gamboa, who police say did not fire his gun, was arrested a few blocks away and booked in county jail for suspicion of murder. The early, and now clearly wrong version of events went something like this. Gamboa was seen manipulating his gun, aimed it at the crowd, and began running towards people. The safety volunteer, previously referred to as a peacekeeper, spotted Gamboa advancing on the crowd, fired his weapon to stop him, and accidentally struck and killed Alu. An initial and now deleted statement from organizers even referred to Gamboa as a domestic terrorist. But in the days since the chaotic scene, video evidence and eyewitness testimony appear to show Gamboa made no such threat. The volunteer took matters into his own hands, and it seems that a man who never fired a shot is being scapegoated as the villain.
So a few things. Now, first of all, Utah is an open carry state, meaning anyone who can legally possess a firearm can just walk around in public with a loaded gun, even an AR-15 rifle. The issue a lot of people have with this is, of course, that no matter a person's intentions, it's easy for other people to interpret this in a very threatening way, especially depending on the context. Secondly, Arturo Gamboa has been attending political protests while open carrying an AR-15 and dressed in all black for a while now, and he's definitely not a right-winger. He shows up to left-wing protests armed like that specifically to be the good guy with a gun in case a bad guy with a gun shows up. And in images where he's marching with crowds, it's clear that he's on their side. But this past Saturday, he seems to have been just walking up to the protest alone, dressed in all black, holding an AR-15, which to the other good guys with guns, the yellow-vested safety volunteers working for the event's organizers, could very understandably have looked like a bad guy with a gun showing up to shoot at protesters. Now, it's still not entirely clear what went down in that specific moment that made them feel the need to just start blasting in a crowded area, but it does make sense that Gamboa could have been seen as a threat. What makes less sense is blaming the death of an innocent bystander on a guy who never fired a single shot, but it does make sense in the context of how things were initially believed to have occurred. So let's go back to the article.
That evening, Utah 5051 issued a statement that pinned responsibility for the tragedy on Gamboa without naming him. We are grateful to the SLC first responders and our safety team at the event for their quick response to the shooting, for apprehending the suspect before he could injure more people, and for helping get the protesters to safely clear the area, the statement read. We condemn the shooter and all violence directed at our peaceful community members in the strongest possible terms. About 2 hours after the incident, Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd said they detained Gamboa, who had also suffered a gunshot wound, about 2 blocks away from where the shooting happened. Redd said they also had detained 2 other people involved. On Sunday, Salt Lake City Police told the now highly disputed version of events that the 5051 peacekeepers told police that they saw Gamboa move behind a wall, remove an AR-15 style rifle from his backpack, and manipulate it. They said they confronted Gamboa and ordered him to drop the weapon, but he ignored that command. One of them fired 3 rounds at Gamboa when he allegedly began to advance on a group of protesters. Both of the men were armed.
As of right now, Gamboa is in jail, but prosecutors still haven't filed any charges. Meanwhile, the person who actually fired the shots that resulted in someone's death hasn't even been identified, let alone charged. Legally speaking, it's possible that neither Arturo Gamboa nor the person who shot at him technically did anything illegal. It's entirely possible that despite someone being shot and killed on a public road in broad daylight, no one will face any charges for it, which feels totally insane. But it's also kind of the natural, logical endpoint of gun laws like these. If someone showed up in all black with a rifle at any of the parades or protests or whatever you want to call it we were at,
I would
be fucking terrified.
Yeah. And
because it's intimidating on purpose.
Yeah, I don't carry a gun because first of all, it's not legal here, and secondly, I think it makes situations worse.
Yeah.
If I was carrying a gun and I saw someone all black, wearing all black with a fucking rifle, I would probably draw my weapon and prepare for the worst. But this is what fucking happens. Like when you live by the rules of the Wild West.
Yeah, I mean, to us, this would indicate that the laws are bad and you shouldn't be letting people walk around open carrying guns, hoping today will be the chance that they get to play the hero, because this is the shit that can happen.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and it's all kind of like, it doesn't all make sense together. Like if everyone can walk around with a gun and in public and displaying it and scaring the shit out of other people, and you are also allowed to defend yourself with lethal force if you feel at all threatened. Like those things are very much at odds with each other, and they add up to situations like this, where neither person technically did anything wrong, but someone else is fucking dead. Someone who had nothing to do with this, they're dead, and the only justice they can really expect here is if they take them to civil court.
Or they change the fucking laws.
Well, that's not going to fucking happen. It should, because this shit's fucking stupid. I do not want to be around someone who feels the need to carry a fucking loaded AR-15 with a round in the chamber around in public. I don't want to be near that person.
We went to 2 separate protests, one of which had over, reportedly 200,000 people. And I never felt unsafe at any point in time, unless there were fucking cops that had rifles on them and riding horses around near us.
Yeah.
And there was no violence until the cops started beating people.
Yeah. And, I mean, and the thing is, like, the level of violence LA has experienced. These are cops that safely and correctly assume that they're dealing with an unarmed population. And, like, you could be naive and say, like, oh, well, if the protesters in LA were armed, the cops would be more careful. No, the cops would just shoot them with real fucking bullets if that was the case. It just escalates everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, what a fucking stupid tragedy, and just what a fucking mess. This sucks. But hey, with all the horrible stuff going on, let's not forget that we're also potentially getting dragged into yet another war in the Middle East that has the potential to be an even bigger boondoggle than George W. Bush's war in Iraq.
I've been ripping my hair out the whole week being like, we already did they're doing WMDs in the Middle East 25 years ago.
Yeah, people can't even remember why Andrew Cuomo resigned as governor. You think people can remember 22 years ago the shit that led up to Iraq? No, it's too long ago. No.
Actually, I do remember Saddam Hussein flew a plane into the Twin Towers.
Well, yeah. And what are we supposed to do? Nothing?
Yeah.
Anyway, at this point, Israel and Iran, they're still at the launching rockets at each other from afar stage of this conflict, which is bad.
Yeah.
But it's also, it can and possibly will get much worse. A U.S.-led full-scale war with Iran has been a dream for a lot of American war hawks for decades. They have had a hard-on for going to war with Iran, I mean, since the 70s, honestly. And the fear of Iran coming into possession of nuclear weapons has intensified things quite a bit in recent years. Now, of course, President Obama solved that problem a decade ago by making a deal with Iran where they agreed not to make nuclear weapons in exchange for some sanctions relief. But in Trump's first term, he immediately tore up that deal, and here we are now.
Mm-hmm.
But even if Iran did have a nuke, I mean, it's kind of baffling to think that they would just use it, knowing full well that would definitely result in Iran itself being nuked into oblivion. It's called mutually assured destruction, and there's a reason the only time nuclear weapons have ever actually been used in war was during the brief window when only one country had them.
Yeah.
Us.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty, it's so fucking, it's gotta seem insane to people outside of this country that the U.S. would lecture fucking anyone on nuclear weapons when we're the only people that's ever actually used them on people.
Yeah, the idea that anytime
we did it twice, we dropped one and we're like, wow, that was fucked up, and then like a week later, like, maybe another one.
Yeah, the fact that they would also have like the capability to use it in a way that would it's just insane. Russia has so many nukes. Other countries have so many nukes. There's a reason that we're not constantly launching them. Yeah. Because we would all destroy each other instantaneously.
I mean, similar to how people think about guns. I certainly wouldn't want people walking around with a nuclear bomb in public, but I think there is some value to just every country on Earth having a nuke.
Or none at all. But that's certainly not going to happen.
That would never happen. So if we have to have nukes, I feel like if every country had just one break glass in case of emergency nuke, I feel like that would be, in a lot of ways, better for the world because countries would be a lot more cautious about fucking with each other. No one actually wants to launch a nuke because, again, you launch a nuke, you get nuked.
Yeah, this is just it's just the pretense for war. That's all it is. It's just like we got to do it because they're gonna have a nuke and they're gonna nuke all of you in America. They're gonna do it right now, and we got to stop it.
And do they have a nuke?
No, probably not. Tulsi Gabbard, like weeks ago, was like, no, they don't. So, and Trump goes, well, I don't believe that.
Always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
So yeah, even Trump's own loyalist hacks were saying just 2 months ago that Iran isn't building nukes, but Trump's just ignoring that and going off vibes here. And speaking of vibes, on Tuesday, Trump shared a text message from Israeli Ambassador Mike Huckabee, Jesus, what a sentence, about the situation. And the vibes are absolutely atrocious. Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters. His voice. I am your appointed servant in this land, and I am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours. Not since Truman in 1945.
What?
I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you, Mike Huckabee. Sending like America's most over-the-top weirdo Christian to Israel to fulfill some biblical prophecy is probably not the best way to handle this.
Yeah, I've still yet to get like a read on how Israelis feel about this kind of thing. Because like on the one hand, like Israel in a lot of ways, historically, they're just like, as long as you support us, we don't really care about literally anything else. Like they
like the money and the weapons.
Yeah, they were tight with like apartheid South Africa in the 80s. They so like it's like a means to an end. But I would love to hear like an actual Israeli's opinion on these like Christian Zionists and like the actual reasons why they support Israel, because it's not a.
I bet it'll be
they
the
don't
most
like
bizarre
Israel.
thing you've ever heard.
So yeah,
but it's very frustrating that especially the way that he's speaking to Trump as though he was spared by the hand of God and casting him as
false. It was Shinzo Abe's ghost.
Yeah, that's
Get
right.
it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like Mike Huckabee really wants Trump to nuke Iran. And it sounds like Mike Huckabee thinks the Lord would love it if Trump...
They want to bring about Armageddon. That's
like,
the whole fucking thing.
It's like I do not understand this Christian theology that just like fucking loves war and dropping nukes. Like,
it's bizarre.
Mike Huckabee is, of course, he's a Christian Zionist psycho. His support for Israel has very little to do with geopolitics and everything to do with fulfilling a biblical prophecy to trigger the rapture. And no, we are not joking. That is literally what he believes, and it's not just him.
It's like the South Park thing you have to put on the screen. This is actually what they believe.
It's not just him. It's a lot of very fucking influential people.
Yes.
Who are dead serious.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, if there's one semi-good thing about right now compared to 2003, it's that a lot fewer conservatives are feeling as gung-ho about another pointless war. And some of them are even arguing against this nonsense better and more forcefully than really anyone on the left that I've seen. Heartbreaking. The worst person you know just made a great point, and in this case, the worst person you know is Tucker Carlson, who you absolutely do not under any circumstances have to hand it to.
No, he's bad. He's a bad, bad man.
But to his credit, he thinks war with Iran is stupid. And in this case, he's absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. Carlson interviewed Senator Ted Cruz on his show this week. I'm sure Ted Cruz showed up expecting a...
Well, hey there!
Two like-minded dudes.
Hey, I plugged up the toilet. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, let's get on with the interview.
Yeah, you know, despite agreeing on most things, these two guys very much do not agree on this specific topic, which resulted in some pretty incredible moments that we will close out our show with today.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Great.
God. I mean, no lies detected. This sucks because a lot of well-meaning people are going to see this and think, hey, Tucker Carlson's kind of cool, actually. I wonder what else he's right about. And,
God, do not listen to this man.
Yeah, but he's really not wrong. You got to question his motives here just happen to align with what's right. He's an isolationist. He's a very America first, and he's also kind of racist and maybe a little bit anti-Semitic. But he's right that if you're super excited about going to war with a country, you should probably know basic fucking facts about that country, because as we saw with Iraq 22 years ago, after you win the war, that's where the real work begins. And if you're not prepared for that, things go very poorly, like they did in Iraq. And he's also right that it is fucking weird how the entire American political establishment treats Israel like this weird exception. Like, if we treated any other country like this, it would be correctly seen as really bizarre and kind of un-American. But like, Israel gets this pass where it's our primary duty as Americans to love and support a foreign country on the other side of the world.
It's because of their fulfillment of this prophecy. It is like strictly biblical. It is bizarre, and it goes back to like all the the memes that we saw last week about Christians going to church after a week of like ICE grabbing people off the streets and like praising like the words of Jesus despite their actions and the support of the actions that are happening around the country, which are very antithetical to the teachings of Jesus Christ. Yeah. But like, it breaks my brain to think how, like, to put myself in the shoes of these types of people. It's like, it's driving me insane.
Yeah, it's maddening.
So fuck Tucker Carlson, but also fuck Ted Cruz harder. Because Ted Cruz is actually in a position of power, and Tucker Carlson just runs his mouth.
He runs his mouth, and Trump's already, of course, the second you turn on him, he's like, oh, kooky Tucker Carlson.
I never liked that guy. I got him fired, actually, from Fox News. It was me. Ugh, God. Anyways, we'll be back with some weird news and hopefully some more lighthearted stuff. Thank you. A lot of this stuff that's been going on is extremely important, so I know that you all understand why we have to cover it, and we hope that you're getting something out of it, and at the very least are becoming aware of the things that are going on, and hopefully able to act upon those and defend people maybe in your cities, or at least raise a stink about it.
It's still gone.
Yeah.
The No Kings protest was a smashing success, but,
we got to keep the momentum.
Yeah, you got to keep the pressure on.
We have more videos for you to watch over here. Please check those out. But if you can, please make click the like button. I forgot to ask before mentioning that.
Please.
Click the like button. We don't have much time. They're on the screen now.
Like the button.
And then leave a comment. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.